Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for, I hope you're enjoying the evening so far. And thank you so much to the World Usability Day Leipzig team and IT Sonics team for allowing us this opportunity to do this presentation. Also thanks to Leipzig University for giving us this chance. And without further ado, I will get into the presentation because we are short on time. So I will start off first with our topic. It's comicifying surveys. I know it sounds interesting. Comicifying comes from comics, and ification is the process of turning something into. So today we are presenting something. We have chosen a data analysis tool that all of you are mostly familiar with. Surveys, researchers, scientists mostly use surveys to collect data and information. But we felt that in a really long time now, surveys, they're such an ancient tool that we have been using, but there has been no innovation when it comes to surveys. We have been using surveys to collect data, and it's a tool that innovators use, but there is no innovation going on in surveys. And for that reason, we chose to innovate something in it. And today we will be talking about something very interesting, we will be talking about how we are using comicification of surveys to identify design patterns for different AI-mediated tools and accessible technologies also potentially. Let's go further into the slides, but before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Shriya Singh, and I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in human-computer interaction at Bauhaus University in Weimar. Before that, I did my bachelor's in computer science engineering from Rajasthan Technical University in India. And I've always been interested in different cultures, different art forms. And I spent my childhood roaming in different parts, not roaming exactly, but spending a lot of time in different parts of India, which is why I'm familiar with different cultures. And I really like getting into different art forms, different art styles, and the stories of different places. All of that excites me. And as a kid, I read comics a lot, and as now an adult, I still read comics, which is why I really love this concept of turning something that is considered traditional and, I mean, quote-unquote boring, like surveys, into something very interesting with comics. So in short, we turned surveys into comics to make them more readable. And now I would briefly hand over the mic to Konstantina so that she can also introduce herself, my dear friend and colleague.
Thank you. Oh, this is loud. Wow. Yes, I'm Konstantina Marra. I am currently a doctoral student at the Graduiert and Kolleg Gewandter Wandel of the Bauhaus University Weimar. And my research topic is smart homes and social quality of life in smart homes, so not immediately related to what we are presenting here today. But I am passionate about stories and storytelling, and this is why this is a fun side project for me. I'm glad to be working with my friend Shriya on this. It's a nice distraction from the PhD, let's say.
Okay, so let's get further into our project. As I said, surveys are as old as time. Even when we had letters, we had surveys. We had surveys on papers to collect information, to have voting. It was all done in the form of surveys. And modern survey design is still quite similar to what it was in the ancient times. But what we are doing now is not throwing surveys entirely, but rather we are imagining them visually in a different way, in a different form, with comics. And the project began with a simple question. What if surveys looked more like stories, like comics, unlike questionnaire forms? Because that's exactly what surveys now look like questionnaire forms. And the problem that we identified was that traditional surveys are very hard to read textually because they are very heavy and fatiguing for users, a lot of cognitive load. because you have to read a lot to go through the entire surveys. Many academic and industrial surveys can be quite long, so it will be very tough for you to find participants unless you're paying them or compensating them in some form. If you're not giving them something, they will not give you even 20 minutes of their time to go through a 20-minute long survey. And it can be hard to configure surveys for different user participants. Also, many times, if you are finding participants by compensating them, then they are not really the right target audience for you, and then ultimately the data that you come up with would also be biased, and as a result, the final project would also have bias in it. So how do you find the right target audience? How do you motivate them? How do you attract them to participate in your research? And sometimes there can be personal questions in surveys which can be hard to answer. There can be different languages, different literacy rates, but all of these problems can be conquered with comics, because comics, you don't need, comics are, a lot of people have a myth about comics that they are just illustrations, but rather I would argue that they are not just illustrations, but they are a communication medium. So they can be analytical, instructional, they can be not just humorous or not just fictional. They can be non-fictional, they can be based on real stories, they can be informational, and they can be replicated across different mediums, not just traditional interfaces, but rather zero interface mediums. But we will talk about this later. And now, what I wanted to do was make surveys more humanized, make them more visual and engaging, so that participants would themselves find themselves going through the entire survey without getting any compensation, without getting any sort of anything out of it. Now, the approach we did was that we created a series of workshops this summer. We organized a series of 4 workshops, and I organized a team of comic artists. They were not really, or not all of them were real comic artists, but they were all interested in art. And we formed that team, and in each workshop, we invited new researchers who had surveys or surveys that they wanted to launch. And in each workshop, we paired one comic artist with one researcher who had a survey. And in that workshop, we had a 45-minute design sprint, within which the comic artist turned that survey into a comic, along co-collaborating with the researcher. So both of them together did this. And we also, this way, we redesigned real surveys as visual narratives. We turned questions into characters, added scenes, dialogues. Also, along with that, we noticed if there were any patterns that were replicated, how the art styles of the comic artist evolved in these 4 workshops, and if there were any patterns that were similar, that were working better than the others, because at the end of each workshop, we evaluated the surveys and asked for feedback. So comics have different elements like transitions, metaphors, speech bubbles. They have paneling, so a lot of techniques can be used within comic making. So our approach was to understand which one of these techniques were being used or reused, and we tried to identify in these workshops. Now, I think I would give the stage to Konstantina.
So, as Shriya already explained to you, our original motivation was the fact that, among others from personal experience also, we know that more often than not, surveys are not the most fun thing to occupy oneself with. Many people are bored of doing surveys, they abandon them halfway. This can also compromise the results of a survey. And so on the one hand, we have this problem that traditional surveys are impersonal and maybe they are not appropriate for all audiences. And also, on the other hand, nowadays, more and more AI tools and LLMs are used in order to create surveys. And that doesn't always come with this warm human element that helps us be more engaged when we are doing a survey. So yes, as Shriya already mentioned, our question was, can adding comic elements to traditional surveys improve this situation? Because comics are a means of communication, and they are a means of conveying stories, and they are creative. And our hope when we began this project was that maybe we can improve questionnaires through comic elements.
Maybe also comics.
Yeah, honestly. And today we have a table over there. And if you visit our table, we have prepared an activity for you, which is sort of the opposite of what we did at the workshops that Shriya just described. So we provide you with some comic elements, and we also have a set of questions. And we ask you to identify which question correspond to which comic element. So for each comic, you get 2 or 3 questions, and you need to guess and identify which goes with which. And our goal is to see what you find intuitive, what you find confusing maybe, what doesn't fit, what doesn't match, and which design patterns work for the broader audience.
Exactly, and we would also I would also tell you that there are no wrong answers, or should I say questions. So you are given 3 question options and an illustration, and you choose which question you feel matches the illustration. And all of these illustrations, fun fact, are from our workshops that we did, created by our wonderful team of artists. And within 45 minutes, no less, they created an entire, they turned an entire survey into a comic. So we used some questions. Some of them, the options I have added are to confuse you, or maybe a little, confuse you and see which one you find best. And also, we are trying to see which aspects of survey design, are working more. So, does the personality of the illustration make you feel that the question should also have a personality? Those are like some basic questions that we are trying to test out with this simple game. But you're welcome to come and try. We came a little late, so it would be nice to have some crowd at our table.
And yes, long story short, to conclude, I would like to say from my side that why I think this project matters is because, in my opinion at least, comics have special character and style and soul depending on the artist that made them, and they have this humanity in them and warmth in them, and we really believe in them, and we think that they can help make questionnaire surveys and research in general better and more engaging. And yes, for more people.
Exactly, and I was also thinking that we would like to see not just, because this method of comicification, as we call it, is something that we feel could be replicated across different mediums, different data analysis tools, and not just surveys. For now, as I said, we will be testing how we can have surveys as more engaging, make them more accessible, maybe innovate with the interfaces as well, how to add humans in the loop as we are doing this, and how to work with AI technologies and innovate with them, so that, we remain in control and we oversee all of this process. But yeah, that I think brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your patience, and if there are any questions, please feel free.
Thank you very much. So, are there any questions? Do I see any questions? So maybe let me ask a question. I was eager to see an example. So do you have examples back there? So okay, then probably I will visit you there because I was eager. So okay, that sounds really good as an approach. But yeah, okay, then the examples are back there. If you want to see them, go there. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, let's give another. Okay.
Do you have any experience or support that comics are kind of a international cultural thing? Because you said, okay, everybody understands, or what I got from it, that most cultural circles understand comics in the same way everywhere?
So that is a really good question. We have a lot of formal evidence, I would say, but the comic research in itself is not as academically inclined because many of the artists, they do write articles. But one of the biggest examples that I can give you is memes, because memes are kind of comics. And in a way, they are a global thing because everybody uses memes in their own languages. And also, if you don't understand the language, you can still laugh at the meme because it's visually explanatory. So yeah, that's a really good question.
Okay, then let's give another round of applause for Shriya and Konstantina.